Hi, it's Terry Gaines. In this video, I'm going to give you all the details and instructions to create a Gatefold Shadow Box Card. For this Shadow Box Card, you need an image cut out. I am going to use a die image that's in the C's Dies in Stampin' Up's January through June 2022 mini catalog. It is bundled together with a stamp set that coordinates with it for a 10% savings. I've used the stamp set and the dies to also embellish the card. So before I start the assembly, I'm going to get all the cardstock and materials prepped. So if you'd like to create this card with me, you can do that. So let's start out with the cardstock number 1. I'm using Pool Party for cardstock number 1, and for cardstock number 2 I'm going to use Coastal Cabana for my coordinating color. So you choose 2 colors you want to work with. And cardstock number 1, the first piece is 8 1/2 by 5 1/2, and it needs to be scored at 2 1/8 and at 6 3/8. This is our card base. So for this card, we're going to fold the panels in. They're the same size on both sides. Use your bone folder to crease 1, and then bring this piece to this seam. This is our gatefold, and then crease that. So we want them to meet in the middle like this. So that's the first piece. Then we have a 6 1/2 by 5 1/2 that is scored at 1/2 inch, at 1 5/8 of an inch, at 4 7/8 of an inch, then at 6. These also need to be scored, or they're scored now. We need to fold them. So we're going to fold all of these to be a valley fold. So this will be the front, and we'll bring these in to be a valley fold. And it's symmetrical, so the panels are the same on both sides. So we have that. So we have those 2 scored. And for cardstock number 1, it says we need some decorative images for the band. I actually cut out 2 of these dies with the dies that coordinate. Cardstock number 2, we need a 2 7/8 by 4 1/8. This is a layer for signing the card, and that's going to be layered with this basic white that is 2 3/4 by 4 for signing the card. So the shadow box is going to be on the inside. So I've stamped a little image on this. This is where you're going to sign the card, and I've layered these 2 pieces together for prep work before I start the assembly. Then we have a 8 1/2 by 3/4 inch scored at 2 1/8. So I've got that scored ahead of time, so that's scored at 2 1/8. That's for the band. We have decorative images for the band. So what I have ahead of time here to share with you, we have 2 images that are cut with the Tasteful Label dies. These are actually going to be retiring. They're currently on sale. 2 of these images, and then I used 1 of those for out of basic white, stamped, sponged some ink on the side, and got that all prepped. So I have 2 of these, 1 of these, that's for the decorative, and then lots of little images that I have all set up. So the last piece is this basic white that is 4 by 5 1/8. This is for the inside sentiment. I've stamped that ahead of time, and that is where these 4 images are going to decorate this, and these 2 are going to decorate that. So that's all of the pieces we need to assemble to create the card. There's some more work we need to do. As I mentioned, this is our card base. I actually want to decorate this a little bit. This is the outside of the card. So I'm going to bring the 3D shell folder in. And Stampin' Up's logo is the front. That means when I place this down, I'm going to have the front of my card here, close that, run it through my die cut and emboss machine, and it's going to emboss these beautiful 3D shells on the front along with the inside. So I've done that ahead of time. Also, what I want to do on this piece is where we're going to cut the window. The window is going to be cut in the center panel. So what I'm going to do is place this die that is going to be the window right in the middle. It's going to hang over or go over the two score lines. That's okay. It's important that you crease these before you cut them out. So I'm going to run that through the die cutting machine, and it's going to come out like this. And as I mentioned, it goes over that score line. So we want to prep that before we assemble. And then I also want to decorate these two panels. So I'm going to bring this embossing folder in again. I'm going to put it in my machine this direction. I'm going to line that score line with the edge of the folder, run it through. Then I'm going to open it up and put this panel on this side, run it through the machine, and I will get decorative sides on here. So now I have shared all the prep work for creating this or getting the card prepped for assembly. So let's back up. So once you run this through, you don't lose your creases, but they go flat again. So let's start by assembling this card first by putting the inside in here. So for your card, you want to make sure that you put that piece in ahead of time. So I'm going to use a Stampin' Seal, which is Stampin' Up's double-sided adhesive, one of the two. We also have Seal Plus. I'm going to look for equal spacing on the top and the bottom and the sides and bring this in like this. Now I've shared that these are going to decorate, so we're going to put these on the inside. This is how I'm going to decorate the card. I'm going to put this little guy down on the bottom. To save some time, I've put dimensionals on these already. So I'm going to put the dimensional, I'll move that up a little bit. I'm going to put this right on the bottom. I have the dimensionals on here, which are great. They're very strong. I'm going to put this little fish right here. I'm going to put this one up on the top. The colors I've used to stamp is Coastal Cabana, Flirty Flamingo, and the Mango Melody are the three colors I use for this card. The beauty of creating is you can use any of your favorite colors. So I'm going to put that. So we want to make sure we get all of this assembled before you put your shadow box part on. So what we're going to do is adhere one panel at a time. I'm going to strongly suggest tear and tape for this, or a strong adhesive. The Seal Plus would work good too. What I like about the tear and tape is why I strongly suggest this. You can place it down and tear it, which is a good benefit for this. It's very strong, but also the backing stays on until you remove it. So you don't have, so we want to make sure we only put one side on at a time. So by saying that, when you have the backing on here, you don't have to worry if it gets attached to something it shouldn't be attached to. We have a little bubble that didn't come out there. So what we want to do is attach one side at a time. I'm going to use the Simply Scoring to do that because I like this corner edge like this. It helps me for alignment. What I want to do is make sure I have the top and the bottom right. It's going to go on like this. I'm going to put one panel on first, and I want it to be flush to the edge and flush to the top or the bottom. So I'm going to turn it like this and put this right up to the corner of my Simply Scoring tool and right up to this wall. So we have these two walls, which we're going to push this up to the corner. And then what I'm going to do is take the backing off just this side only, and make sure I don't put it down until I'm ready to adhere it. So I'm going to lift it up off of on an angle, run it close all the way to this wall. When I hit that other wall, I can drop that down. Then I have it flush here and flush here. So that helps me with that alignment. Now what we're going to do is fold this card so it closes like this. So we have half of it under this panel. We're going to fold this one under this panel. And as we place this down, we're just going to make sure that it releases. It doesn't get tucked underneath. We're going to take this backing off. And then you're going to close this panel. And now we have our shadow box card. So when you open it up, you've got that shadow box, you've got that divider here. It's going to stand on the table and look really nice. And the person you give it to is going to be viewing this part. We have this part to sign the card because we're going to put that on the back. That's where you would put your sentiment to them, to the receiver. And we'll take regular adhesive and adhere this to the back. There. So now what we're going to do is create a belly band to keep this closed. I'm going to move the Simply Scoring out of the way, and then we'll create the belly band. You could use any different images. As I mentioned, I used the Tasteful label dies. So how I create a belly band is I'm going to place the score line on this side. I'm going to take and wrap it on this side. I tend to, if I scored that the same size as this, it'd be too tight. If I go the next 1/8 inch, it tends to be too big. So I just form that second fold by wrapping it around. Now they don't meet in the middle because I didn't want to add that extra bulk. So what I'm going to do is use 2 images to secure them. For the first one, I'm going to use this die image. I've put tear and tape on both sides here. I'm going to place this down, look for equal spacing to get that all aligned. And then what I'm going to do is just hold this, take your pick tool, take that off, drop that one down, take the adhesive off the backing off the adhesive on this side, drop that down. Now I'm going to slide it off and work with it while it's off. Ahead of time I put tear and tape on the back of this. You could use your regular adhesive. I'm just choosing to use the tear and tape. Let's see if I can get all this backing off. There you go. So now what I'm going to use my fingers to hold this and make sure I get the alignment right before I drop it into place. Now this image is going to go on top of this, but before I do that, I'm going to put these little decorative images right in here. So I'm going to put some regular adhesive just to secure this a little bit. I'm going to place this stem here. I'm going to trim part of that off. And then I've got that adhesive right in there. I'm going to put this over here, and I'm going to put this right here. The reason I just put that on there for placement, I have all these dimensionals on the back of this. I prepped this to save some video time, and I'm taking the Take Your Pick tool to take off the backings. And the reason I can just put that down, like I started to tell you, is all of these dimensionals are going to help secure those into place. So what I'm going to do is just look for equal spacing here, place that down. Two more fish that I stamped and cut with the dies, and I have a dimensional on the back. I pre-stamped some little bubbles there, so we know I'm going to place that one here, and then I'll place this one right like that. So that's the band. That's going to help keep the card closed, and then you can place that back on. And because I have this image in the back, it gets stuck on that a little bit. So what you want to do is just make sure it doesn't get caught on that. Goes down straight. Because of those little extra images, it's going to go down a little bit and adhered like so. I hope this video was helpful for creating the Gatefold Shadow Box Card. And if you have any questions, just leave a comment in the comment. I would love to have you subscribe to my YouTube channel. Click the red box under the video, then select the red bell to be notified when I upload new videos. Thanks for stopping by. Take care and happy creating.